Welcome, everyone, to our regular weekday morning podcast on Kabbalah for Heretics with me, your heretic in chief, Yakov Leib HaKohain. Let's get back to where we are in the fourth and next to last volume of the Zohar, which we're rapidly completing. Now, when I say rapidly, I don't mean we're going to be finished with it and beginning volume 5 in the next couple of weeks. I mean, it's more likely months or even a year before we're actually finished with it, but we're close. Now, we're in one of the particularly puzzling for many people passages of the Zohar, and it's been going on now for some paragraphs, talking about, for example, the serpent wound about the leg of the donkey, and talking about it bringing insight as well as suffering. That thought is being continued here. Therefore, too, the community of Israel is called Bathsheba, literally daughter of seven. Now, this is a Kabbalistic look at the Hebrew word Bathsheba. Now, you remember about David and Bathsheba. But Bathsheba literally means daughter of seven. Bat, daughter, Sheva, of seven. Daughter of seven. After the septet had perfected the priests and crowned them and anointed them, when they reached the community of Israel, which is the eighth, Aaron was commanded to offer a calf to atone for the sin of that other calf which Aaron made, thereby sinning against the cow, which is the eighth, the completion of the guardians of Israel. But wonder whatever happened about the sin of the golden calf, which Aaron had made. If you remember, his making of it is described in great detail in the Zohar. And here we see that he atones for that ultimately. He atones for this ultimately by offering a calf for the sin of the other calf which he had made, thereby sinning against the cow, which is the eighth, the completion of the guardians of Israel. The cow. A cow. An animal, but a female animal. One that nurtures and suckles, but an animal. Animals are used throughout the Zohar as arcane references to supernatural events and entities and so forth. Now, that couldn't be possible if an animal doesn't have a soul. I know all of you have heard animals do not have souls, but that's ridiculous. Of course they do. It's not the same high level of soul as we find ultimately in man, but it is a level of soul which that animal shares with mankind. Man and animal are born at the lowest of the four levels of soul, nephesh. It is an animal soul. The animal itself cannot raise itself up from that soul to the second soul level, ruach. But man can raise it up, first in himself and then in the animal. Our responsibility to animals is not just to love them and enjoy them, if we do, but to literally awaken the next highest level of soul in them. And anyone who has had animals and pursues that path with them knows I am correct. Thus the priest found completion in all, in the 8 different vestments and in all the crowns, complete above and below. The Kohen, the hereditary Levitical priest, completes everything. Now, again and again, I have to point out that being a Levitical priest is not a choice one makes. It's not something bestowed upon one by an academy or anything else. You don't wake up one morning and suddenly decide you are a Kohen. You do not. It is hereditary, directly from Aaron, his seed, and Moses, and is passed on only through the male line. I am, Baruch Hashem, through no accomplishments of my own, a Kohen, because my father was a Kohen, and his father was a Kohen, and his father's father was a Kohen. Now, on all solemn occasions, some action must be manifested, and therefore a ceremony was performed with Aaron below to produce a corresponding reaction above. And in this way, worlds were blessed through the mediation of the priest. Not the Catholic priest, not the Christian priest, not the Druid, but the hereditary, genetic, Levitical priest of the line of Aaron. And notice his ultimate function. If you've ever attended the ceremony being alluded to here, is one of magic. And if you've ever attended such a ceremony, you'll agree it is theurgic. We see more and more theurgy in the Zohar. In fact, there is far more references and discussions of theurgy than there is the Jewish religion, which is practically none at all. Again and again, I must point out that the Zohar is not a, quote, Jewish, unquote, text. It has nothing to do with the, quote, Jewish religion, unquote. Nothing. It has to do with the mind of God. It has to do with the presence, existence, and future of God, and that of man in relationship to God. It's far more important than any silly rituals, like keeping kosher or so forth. And it certainly is not what is called in Hebrew literature Musar. Musar is a whole series of literary volumes written by the rabbis to pass on moral teachings. There is nothing of moral teaching in the Zohar. I have been teaching this Zohar for over 25 years, every weekday morning, volume by volume, cover to cover, page by page, word by word. And with that authority, I tell you, this Zohar is not a moral teaching. It is not a religious teaching. It is not even a Jewish teaching. It comes out of the Judaic consciousness. But it has nothing to do with the Jewish religion as such. The reason I emphasize this so much is that there are very prominent teachers now who teach the Zohar in that way. It is an insult to the Zohar to do that. Woe to them. Thus the priest is found complete in all. Now listen to that very simple statement. Thus the priest is found complete in all. There is only one thing in the world, the universal world, the empirical world, that is complete in all. Only one thing. God. Only God is complete in all. So when we read this seemingly simple statement, thus the priest is found complete in all, what we are being told is at the moment of this very sacred arcane ritual of the dukening, the priest stands as God, is transformed by theurgy into God, himself standing before the congregation, blessing them. So when a Kohen, a priest, blesses, it is not he who blesses, but he into whom he has been transformed. That is God, complete in all. Now, this doesn't mean that the Kohanim, such as myself, are extra special, highly holy, terribly pious people. In fact, there is an old Yiddish saying, Alle Kohanim seid mishuganas. All Kohanim are crazy. And in fact, if you know enough Kohanim, myself included, you'll see that's absolutely true. I'm an asshole. Most of the Kohanim are absolutely assholes. But when they are transformed into the role of the Kohen and stand complete in all things as God, they are no longer that stupid asshole. The magic they perform, the way they hold their hands, the way they sway back and forth under their prayer shawls, all of that constellates God in them and through them, now as well as then. From the moment I was told I was a Kohen, and that was at 10 or even earlier, I just knew, without knowing very much about them, that there was a very special something in that, and that I was indeed, this little child, blessed. Not because of me. And notice it says, the ceremony that the Kohen performs, called dukening, is performed with Aaron, their forefather, below, to produce a corresponding action above. And in this way, worlds, W-O-R-L-D-S, worlds were blessed through the meditation of the priest. It is a special honor and an awesome experience to watch the Kohanim blessing the congregation in the synagogue on special occasions. Believe me, it is so awesome that people are asked either not to bring their children or to turn their children's back on the Kohanim, so that they don't see it and get terrified. It is awesome. Aaron had to bring a calf for a sin offering on account of the sin he had previously committed. Now notice it's saying something that is inferred in a lot of places, and something we certainly hope is true. We can indeed overcome a sin, even a sin as great as the golden calf, by producing another, purer offering. Now, on all solemn occasions, some act must be manifested, and therefore a ceremony was performed with Aaron below to produce a corresponding reaction above. And in this way, worlds have been blessed. Through the meditation of the priest, Aaron had to bring a calf for a sin offering on account of the sin he had previously committed. Also a ram for a burnt offering. Why also a ram? Because of the ram of Isaac, who was a perfect burnt offering. You'll remember that in the Akedah, when Abraham is about to sacrifice, literally, Isaac, he sees a ram tangled in the bushes, and he takes that ram and sacrifices it instead of his son Isaac. That ram is the suffering Messiah, the messianic sacrifice for the sins of all, including the sins of God. Goes on, thus the calf was brought for its own sake, and the ram to complete it duly with the perfection of Isaac. We'll continue with this tomorrow morning. In the meantime, we'll stop here. And let me ask, I have the two recording technicians who are always here this morning. They're the only people here. We do not invite students to attend these recording sessions. We invite you all to listen to them on our channel, our YouTube channel, but not to attend them now. But David and Yeshai are always here, recording, editing, and posting them to that channel. So I ask them if they have any comments or questions which might represent some of the comments and questions some of you in the listening audience may have. David, Yeshai, any comments, questions? Raise it. There you go. Both of you do. Go right ahead. Waiting for Yeshai and David. Here we go. David. This describes the theurgic steps as it references. The calf is offered by Aaron in penitence for the sin of the golden calf he created. And its animal soul is raised up. That's a very important point. Yes. It's not just on his behalf that Aaron is offering this second calf. It is to raise up the soul of the first calf, the golden calf. The priests complete it all and are found complete in all. All of their actions, movements, words, sounds, such as blowing of the shofar, is performed with Aaron like a blessed symphony. Also a ram was offered. Why? Because of the ram of Isaac. That ram is the suffering Messiah, the substitutionary sacrifice. Thus the ram was brought for its own sake, for the perfection of Isaac. The ram, the substitutionary sacrifice, the Christ, is brought for the perfection of Isaac and all others. Excellent, David. Thank you so much. Yeshai, go ahead. Waiting. Yeshai is going to make a comment. Here we go. Missed the beginning, but powerfully dense regardless. Priests of the Levitical line bless worlds above by their theurgy below, and animals have souls at the nefesh level, which we must raise to ruach, because they cannot do it on their own. Oh, beautiful. You dug out some important things, Yeshai. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for your wonderful Father's Day greetings. That was very touching. Thank you, Yishai. All right, that concludes our podcast for this morning. I will end the way I end every morning by reciting the ritual prayer for the dead, the Kaddish, in memory of the departed soul of our beloved friend and fellow Kohen, Leonard Cohen. Yiskadal v'yiskadash shmei rabo, bo modivro Heretics amlich malchusei, v'chayachonu v'yomechonu v'chayei dechol beis Yisrael, bagala ovizman koriv v'imnu amen. Yehi shmei rabo mavirach le'olam omeo maya, Yisbarach v'yishtabach v'yisba'av v'yisamam, v'yisnasei v'yishadar v'yisalei v'yisalal, shmei dekutra b'richu, le'olam mincha b'rechasa v'shirasa tushbachasa, v'nechemasa dameron bomo v'imnu amen. Yehi shlomo rabba min shemaya, v'chayinu aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'imnu amen. Osei shalom b'mamo, hu ya'asei shalom, aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'imnu amen. And let everybody say amen. That, of course, concludes our podcast for this morning. God willing, I'll have another day of life tomorrow morning to continue this study of the Zohar. In the meantime, Yivarechecha